guys, I'm Raina from Meridian Migration and Education Consultancy. Our topic for today's video is trade course, and I guess the reason why I'm doing this video is because we've been getting a lot of queries on trade course these days. And if you ask me who these queries are from, I'll tell you that most of the people who are inquiring are students of accounting, or they've probably studied IT. So we know, all of us are well aware of the fact that these days most of the pro rata occupations require at least 75 or 80 points to secure an invitation, and it's not easy for an individual to secure or accumulate 75 or 80 points. Even some of the non-pro rata occupation these days require 70 points to secure an invitation. So these people who think it's difficult for them to accumulate 75 or 80 points, or maybe those people who are losing points because of the age or other factors, they are looking at trade course as an alternative pathway to PR. So in this video, we'll be telling you how you can use trade course as a pathway to PR and a few things that you should bear in mind before you take it up as an option. All right? So let's start. But before we begin, just a quick thing that I want to cover so that you can understand the video slightly better, which is I want to outline the 3 steps for visa application for general skill migration. Okay, so let's see. For general skill migration, there are basically 3 steps involved for a visa application, which is namely skills assessment, your expression of interest, and your visa application. So what's the first step? Skills assessment. What happens in skills assessment? Whatever you have studied, your qualification would be assessed by the relevant assessing authority in this step. And if you get a positive skills assessment, you can move on to the next stages. The next stage is expression of interest. Here, basically, you're claiming that you have sufficient points, which is 65. You're telling the department, I have sufficient points, I've got the necessary skills and qualifications, I want to lodge my expression of interest for visa application. Now, mind you, to be eligible for expression of interest, all you need is 65 points. But that does not mean that you will secure an invitation at 65 points. How it works is basically, if somebody's got higher points than you, they would receive an invitation first. So 65 is just to be eligible, not for your invitation. Please keep that in mind. Now, suppose if you have received an invitation from the department, then you'll be able to move on to the 3rd step, which is basically the visa application. So you'll be lodging a visa application, and if everything is fine, all your documents are in place, you've provided everything that was required, you will get a visa grant. So that's the 3 basic steps of visa application for general skill migration. But what does the pathway for a trade course look like for permanent residency? Let's have a look. So the first thing that you need to do for trade courses, of course, you need to have a qualification. So you will be studying any one particular trade course. In most cases, a Certificate 3 should be enough for your PR pathway. All right. Once you've studied, the next stage would be a job ready program. Now, for your job ready program, there are 4 steps involved. We'll go into the details a little later. But what you have to bear in mind is that for your job ready program, you need at least a year. Okay. After you're done with your job ready program, in that case, you're going to get your skills assessment. Once you've got your skills assessment, then the normal, you have to go for your lodgement of expression of interest. And then if everything is fine, you receive an invitation, you'll be going ahead with your visa application. So that's what your PR pathway for trade course looks like. All right, let's move on. Next. Now, although we know that most of the occupations require 70, all right, or 75 or 80 for securing invitation. Even for trade course, some occupations would need 70 points to secure an invitation. Now, it's slightly easier when it comes to trade course to secure 70 points. Let's see how. So I've just done a general points calculation here on the basis of your English and on the basis of the different age groups. So let's have a look at the first age group, which is 25 to 32. So if you're in this age group, you'll be getting 30 points for your age. For your English, it depends whether you've got proficient or superior. Proficient is basically having 65 in PTE or 7 in IELTS. Whereas superior, on the other hand, is 79 in PTE, or 8 in IELTS. Let's suppose we just have proficient English. We don't have superior English. In that case, you'll be getting 10 points. Okay. The next thing would be your qualification. Now, this video, I've basically made it for those people who are already here or onshore. They've studied something previously, but they feel that they might not be able to use that qualification for the permanent residency pathway. And that's why they're looking at trade course as an alternative. So I'm assuming most of you who will be going for this trade course pathway have already done a bachelor's or a master's year. And as we know, for your points calculation, you get points for your highest qualification. So in that case, if you've got a bachelor's or master's, you'll be getting 15 points for your qualification. You need not worry that you're doing a certificate 3. You get points for highest qualification. Next. After that, the next would be study requirement. So because you have already studied here, say, a master's or a bachelor's, you've already met the study requirement in most cases. So I'm assuming again that you'll be getting 5 points for that. Next comes in your work experience. Now, what happens in a job ready program is that you're supposed to work for 1 year, paid employment. So the fact that you worked here for 1 year and you have paid employment in Australia, in that case, you can claim those points for your work experience and you'll be getting 5 points for that. So if you have a look, for those people who fall under the age group of 25 to 32, your total points with proficient English would be 65. And suppose you've got superior English, in that case, you'll be at a 75. But like I said, let's assume that most of us just have proficient English. So we've got 65. Now, just suppose that if we need to reach 70 or 75, how is that possible? Now, reaching 70 or 75 is not so much of an issue for a trade occupation. Reason being, most of the states in Australia have these trade occupations on the list. Okay, so you can apply for a 190 visa subclass or a 489 visa subclass. You can get state nomination points, 5 points, 10 points. So that should help you increase your total points. Okay, and of course, if you want to increase your points further, that's not an issue. You can always go for things like NATI, diploma, or maybe CCL. Or if you've got a partner who's got a skill on the same list, you can get it assessed and you can use partner points as well. That would give you another 5 points. All right. Okay, so that was for people who are in the age group of 25 to 32. But let's say maybe we are losing points because of age. All right. Maybe you're over 32 or maybe under 25. In that case, you would get only 25 points for your age, but everything else remains the same. Okay, we're considering English. Maybe suppose we've just got 10 from English. You'll be getting points for your highest qualification, which is 15, and you'll be getting points for your study requirement, which is 5, work experience 5 again. But this time the total works out to be 60 or 70 depending on your level of English. And again, the same thing, you can get points from the state. You can get 5 or 10 points depending where you're applying. And if you still want to increase further, again, you can go for NATI or CCL, or maybe you can use your partner points. All right, moving on to the next age group. Now, this age group is slightly at a disadvantage. This age group of 40 to 44, because for age, they straight away lose 15 points. So, if I keep everything else the same in terms of English, qualification, study requirement, work experience, the total point for them is quite low. They would just have a 50 or 60. Okay. Now, for them, it's very important that they get superior English. Otherwise, they'll have to do NATI or CCL and get points from their partner. It becomes very difficult for them because just points from the state is not enough for them. Okay, so they'll have to be a bit careful. They'll probably have to work out carefully before they take trade course as an option for pathway to PR. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is the Job Ready program. And like I've told you earlier, there are 4 steps involved with this. The first step being provisional skills assessment. Here in this stage, what they would be doing is they'll be assessing your qualification, and also they want to see 360 hours of paid employment. This stage is going to cost you $300. If you get a successful outcome, then only you can move ahead to the step 2. In step two, you'd be going in for a job ready employment. All right. Here you have to work for about 12 months in your nominated occupation, and you have to provide evidence of 863 hours of paid employment. You need to maintain journal entries for 6 months. This step will cost you $500. The next step would be job ready workplace assessment. In this stage, what happens is they would be appointing a RTO assessor. So the assessor is going to check if you've got the skills required and whether you are ready for the job or not. Okay, this step would cost you about $2,000. Now, what happens if the assessor feels that you're not ready for the employment? All right, you can go in for a review. The review doesn't cost you anything, but in case the review is also unsuccessful and you want another assessment to take place, in that case, the second assessment is going to cost you an additional $2,000. All right? Well, let's hope we don't get into that. Fourth step. Fourth step is your job ready final assessment. Here, you have to provide evidence of 1,725 hours of paid employment, and also you'll have to show journal entries for 12 months. This stage will only cost you $150. So suppose all is well and we have successfully completed all the 4 steps without any hiccups. In that case, your total cost for the job ready program would be about $2,950. But of course, if you have any reviews or additional assessments, in that case, it can go up slightly. Okay. So let's move. Alright guys, moving ahead. The next thing that I want to talk about is the time frame required for this entire trade course program. We have to be very wise and calculate that we have enough time to complete this entire program. On the surface, it looks like all we need is 2 years, 1 year for the qualification and 1 year for the job ready program. But that's not how it works. If you have a look at the job ready program, the first stage, provision skills assessment, you would notice that the turnaround time for provisional skills assessment is 3 months. Okay, so 1 year for the qualification, 3 months of provisional skill assessment, and 12 months of employment. Straight away, we see that the minimum time that's required for this entire program is 2 years, 3 months. Now, if you're planning to do this program on your TR, it might be an issue because by the time you complete your TR, you still have some months to do for your job ready employment. And for your job ready employment, you need to have full work rights. If your TR is expiring, the issue is that you might have to go for another visa, which in most cases would be a student visa. Student visa does not have full work rights, so you might be in a soup. All right, all your effort, hard work for the last 2 years will go down the drain. Of course, if you've got a partner, you can apply for a student visa for your partner. Make sure it's a master's, and then in that case, you might get full work rights. But that's not for everyone. Okay. So ensure that you have a little bit more than 2 years. Also, the other issue is your assessment stage. If everything is fine, not an issue. But in case the RTO assessor feels that no, you're not ready for the job and you have to go for a further employment of 3 months, that will be an added issue for you. Again, your entire program is going to increase by 3 months. It might actually extend from anything between 2 years, 3 months to 2 years and 6 months. Okay, so that's another issue. So be careful. Make sure that you have the buffer time in hand. Don't go, exactly go forward exactly relying on 2 years for your TR. That's not a wise decision. Okay. In fact, what I'd recommend most of you to do is if you are in your 3rd or 4th semester of uni at the moment, probably it's a good idea to simultaneously start your trade course qualification. If not so early, at least make sure you have 6 to 8 months left on your student visa when you start your trade course qualification. So what happens is by the time you complete your student visa, you're always halfway through your qualification for trade course, and when you start your TR, you would have completed it and you have sufficient time for your job ready program. Even if there are any hiccups, any reassessments, not an issue, you're still safe. You have sufficient time. Okay, so please be careful. More things that you need to bear in mind before you take this as an option. Okay, now mostly, like I said, I'm recommending this option for those students who are already onshore. Okay, So make sure you have been a primary applicant of a student visa, all right, previously. Otherwise, you might be able to do the qualification, not an issue, but you'll get stuck in the job ready program because it's a requirement that you should have held an international student visa to study in Australia. So suppose what happens is, I'll give you an example as well. There is a couple who's come on student visa. The husband was the main primary applicant, whereas the wife was the dependent. The wife has never held a student visa as a primary applicant, and if she wants to go ahead and study a trade qualification, yes, they'll allow you to do the qualification, but when it comes to the job ready program, you'll not be eligible. So your qualification, your time, money, everything goes for a waste. So please make sure you've done your research and homework before you take this as an option. Next thing that you should be careful about is the choice of trade course that you go for. Okay, there are heaps of options, all right, and most of them have quite high ceilings. So usually the clients that come to us, they tell us, all right, I want to go in for carpenter because it's got a ceiling of 7 or 8,000. Or maybe there's some people will come and say, I want to go in for motor mechanics because it's got a high ceiling. Yes, that's a good way to look at it because, of course, the number of seats available are high. Your chances of getting an invitation also increases. But also bear in mind that it's just not the qualification. After the qualification, you have to do a job ready program. So make sure you take something in which you can get employment for. Okay, don't take something just by the ceiling. You also have to consider that if it is an occupation which you'll find difficult to get employment for, that will be an issue for you as well. So both of them go hand in hand, ceilings as well as the availability of job. Okay. Next thing, like I've already mentioned, but I just want to reinforce that, make sure you have full work rights. Okay. So you can do it on your TR, not an issue, but make sure by the time your TR expires, you have completed or you have sufficient time to complete your job ready employment. Next thing, make sure that you would be able to reach at least 70 points even for a trade occupation, because at the moment, if some occupations are receiving invitation at 70, you never know, after 2 years, by the time you're eligible, it might even go slightly up. But like I said, it's slightly easier for trade occupations to secure 70 or 75 points because of state nominations. So make sure you can still reach 70 or 75, just don't jump into trade occupation. It doesn't mean that if you do a trade occupation, it's a sure short pathway to PR. No, you still need points. Okay, so work out your points likewise. All right, moving ahead. Now the next thing that I want to cover is the popular options for trade occupations. So a lot of our clients always ask us, which course or qualification should we undertake? Now there are quite a few, honestly, but I've just listed 4 of them over here on the basis of a few statistics. So the first one being carpentry. Why? Because the ceiling is pretty high, 8,300 roughly. The other good factor about this occupation is that so far, until 11th August 2018, only 5 invitations have been issued. And the other good thing is that they're also on the list of most states. I've mentioned a few over here. They're on the list for 190 as well as for 489 for states such as New South Wales, South Australia, Northern Territory, and Tasmania. Next one that I've mentioned is painting. Painting again has got a high ceiling, not that high, but not bad, 3,000 roughly. So far only 2 invitations have been issued until 11th August 2018. Again, then the state list for most states, but again I've mentioned 4 of them: New South Wales, Tasmania, South Australia, and Northern Territory. Next comes in your metal fitters and machinists. Welders would come under this category as well. Again, they've got a pretty good ceiling of 6,900 roughly, and only 2 invitations have been issued so far. Now again, they are also on the state list for most states, but I've mentioned again the same 4, which is New South Wales, Tasmania, South Australia, and Northern Territory. The last one being motor mechanics, quite a popular option. Again, a ceiling of 6,000 roughly, and so far only 9 invitations have been issued, and they're on the state list again for different states. I've mentioned 3 of them here: New South Wales, Tasmania, and Northern Territory. Okay, so these were a few basic things or a few basic guidelines that I've told you about trade course, but of course there's more to it. And if you think that you need any more information, because every case is different, like I said, you can always drop in at our office at level 8, 345 Queen Street, Melbourne CBD, or give us a call at 0414 511 453, and we'll definitely get back to you as soon as possible.